Hey everyone, this is Cami Westall with a little bit of an overview of Chapter 2, which is the ancient Near East and the peoples and empires. So as we're getting sort of the foundation, early foundations for Western culture, which is basically what's going to be in Europe and then later the United States, a lot of these ideas and principles come from the ancient Near East peoples. So there are four kind of key groups that it discusses in this chapter, some with some crazy names to pronounce. But the first group that it looks at is going to be the Hebrews. And these are people who are also known as the Jews. And the children of Israel and God's chosen people. So when you're hearing the Hebrews and the Jews, it's really easy for us in the United States to just look at Judaism as a religion and not so much an ethnicity. If you take the second half of Western Civ or U.S. history, when we get into World War II, we get a lot into Adolf Hitler in Germany and his racism and how he's looking at the Jews as an ethnic group. But these Hebrews, so again, also the Jews, settle in this area. You see the rest of Europe where the mouse is moving, and they're in this little block, and that's where the modern day country of Israel that was created in 1948 is. And these are people who, they don't really blend in with others. They are proud of their culture and their heritage, and so they marry into their own ethnicity. Talks about this united kingdom that develops over the famous kings of Saul, their first king, and then David, and then David's son Solomon. And then after that, things split. This united kingdom was split into Israel and Judah. And these are, so that gets kind of confusing because you still got the Jews, but now they're in this divided kingdom, so they're not all in one kingdom. One of the big things that it discusses with the Hebrews is this focus on monotheism. So when you're talking about their creed, the Hebrew, the things that they're really living by, they are believing in Yahweh as their one true God. At times they'll stray and kind of worship other things, just like for anyone today who is monotheistic in their faith. It's difficult to focus all your effort and strength on one God sometimes, and you stumble. They do that as well, but they focus on one God. They believe they are his chosen people, and they believe he's fully sovereign. This is a difference from some of the other cultures that have different gods that are in charge of areas of farming or family, or that have weaknesses and can be wounded or taken out. This is a fully sovereign God. Yahweh is such a personal name. They actually, it's kind of like in the Harry Potter thing, Voldemort, it's he who shall not be named. They don't even say Yahweh's name, that he's that powerful. And they view himself as their chosen people. Obedience is a major factor in their religion. As we get to, again, Hebrews and Jews, I was talking about how those are synonymous. It's not the same thing as Christianity. Easy mistake for people to make, but we are hundreds of years away from Christianity. Christians are not Hebrews. Some Jews after Jesus will choose to become Christians, but they don't all go that way. And there's going to be some of the leading Jews are going to refuse to believe in Jesus as the Messiah or anointed one of God because of a lot of these obedience factors that they're going to take to the extreme. So the Hebrews, they have prophets that Yahweh will reveal himself through these prophets. Talks about their social structure, some beginning on page 44. Family oriented. As with other cultures, it's a little harsh on the Hebrews, I think, in some ways here, because all these other societies, Egypt was different and allowing a little more equality between man and woman, but all these societies pretty much are pretty heavily male dominated, with a patriarchal family unit, and that the Hebrews are no exception to that. So not a huge amount of opportunities for women, but women do have some unique roles, like Deborah, one of the ruling judges long after the or before, excuse me, the kingdom. And then after the Israelites, gets into the Assyrians, scary group, very, very military oriented, lots of names that are very, very difficult to pronounce. But this is the area where modern day Syria, which is in the news a lot because of warfare going on there, is from in the Middle East. So if you look where the mouse is moving, Israel is kind of over here. They're having to deal with the threat of the Assyrians. And the Assyrians are going to be able to conquer much of this land in the middle with this strong emphasis on military. They do trade a lot based on their location. They've got kingdoms above and below them, so agriculture is going to be very important to them. But they have a lot of hatred towards other people. They're pretty harsh, but still lay a strong foundation. Asher, their chief god, there's a city named for him in this area of Mesopotamia. And Mesopotamia, which is discussed in chapter 1, this area that means between the rivers, between the Tigris and Euphrates, or the Fertile Crescent. You see it's almost shaped like a crescent moon here. So Assyria is a powerful kingdom in there as well. And then the Assyrians are going to be taken down by the Babylonians later under Nebuchadnezzar. Babylon, near these famous gates that were rebuilt, is going to become a major power, a large, prosperous empire. This is an area that's largely desert today, but they had just very lush areas. It mentions one of those 7 wonders of the ancient world, the gardens that Nebuchadnezzar had built for his wife. But a very successful empire with the hanging gardens there, with lots of splendor and wealth, before it's going to be taken out by Persia. So then the Persian Empire is going to become huge. It will eventually conquer, before it sort of shrinks back down, land of Turkey and Egypt. The heart of it is really going to be in this area that's sort of modern day Iran. It gets it all the way over to India. In this area, so huge, huge, huge empire. I mentioned Cyrus the Great, largely well known and celebrated for overthrowing the Babylonians. The importance of kings in the Persian Empire. Darius, who we'll see later on during the Persian Wars, and Xerxes, who we'll get into as well in the Persian Wars with the Greeks. So Persia, a major powerful empire. There's no country that's still known as Persia anymore. Again, most of it's kind of where Iran is today, also over to India and other parts of Asia. But the real heart of it had been in this kind of central area. And then it took over also that land from Babylon and what had been Syria as well. So it was a major empire before it too will start to lose ground, and then eventually be taken over by Alexander the Great. So some different people groups, all with certain factors that make them stable for a little while, and then they'll fall apart. But some interesting things to glean from them as we go along those foundational groups and some of their customs that will wane out, but some that will be passed on and spread. Many things from the Jews and from the Persians through the rest of our Western Civ. So that's a brief rundown, minus some of those scary long names of Chapter 2.